dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening. I'm Olivia Calfee. President Biden faced a crucial test in his efforts to reverse course after last month's debate sent his re-election efforts into a tailspin. CBS News correspondent Skylar Henry reports from the White House on the president's hour-long news conference that wraps up this week's NATO summit.
President Biden held his first news conference since last month's debate set off a firestorm over his fitness for a second term in the White House.
So there's a long way to go in this campaign. And so I'm just going to keep moving.
After brief remarks, the president took questions from reporters, including CBS News chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes.
Have you spent time thinking about what it would mean for your legacy, which you've worked decades to build, if you stay in the race, despite the concerns that voters say they have, and you lose to someone who you yourself have argued is unfit to return to the Oval Office?
I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started.
Biden was asked about moves to cut the length of his workday in the debate's aftermath.
And if you look at my schedule since I made that stupid mistake in the campaign, in the debate, I mean, my schedule has been full bore. I've done, where's Trump been? Riding around in his golf cart, filling out his scorecard before he hits the ball?
Thursday's high-stakes event marks the end of NATO's Washington summit and his first solo news conference in close to 8 months. At a NATO event earlier today, President Biden verbally stumbled when introducing Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, but he corrected himself.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway.
Behind the scenes, senior campaign advisors met with Senate Democrats, trying to assure them the president can win in November. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
The president took more than 10 questions, and at one point in the news conference, Biden mistakenly referred to Donald Trump as vice president. After the event, Jim Himes, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, posted a statement on social media withdrawing his support for the president. Now back here at home, a proposed prison in eastern Kentucky is one step closer to becoming a reality. The Federal Bureau of Prisons has published the final environmental impact statement. It says the potential impact on the environment would not stop construction of the prison. The medium security prison will be located in Letcher County. Representative Hal Rogers says he's been working on this project for a long time.
For roughly 20 years now, I've been working to get a federal prison built in Letcher County, mainly because of the jobs. It would create 300 or so jobs, good federal paying jobs in the hills of Kentucky.
The final 30-day public comment period starts tomorrow. The Pikeville Police Department is preparing for the future, hoping for a new headquarters. The current 31-year-old police station was built for a department much smaller than Pikeville's growing force, and officials say it only makes sense to grow the space as well. With plans underway and funding potentially earmarked based on a news release from Congressman Hal Rogers, the city could potentially receive almost $4 million through the 2025 community project funding for a new police station.
Knowing that it's not final, but just that the opportunity's there, and we're very grateful as well that you know, we're being looked at and that money's coming towards Eastern Kentucky for emergency services and things like that, and that we was considered as a great honor.
Riddle says the new headquarters would serve the department and the community as well, and he is glad to see it listed among the 14 other projects supported by Rogers. Starting next week, Kentucky's Move Over law will change. The Slow Down, Move Over law requires drivers to slow down or change lanes when vehicles are on the side of the road. Currently, the law protects law enforcement, highway crews, tow truck operators, and other roadside workers. But starting Monday, it will include all stranded motorists. AAA has been working for years to get the law expanded.
It's something that should be, the logical, smart thing to do, but it's important to build the awareness about it.
Weaver Hawkins says this new law will reduce any confusion drivers have when it comes to knowing when to move over and will ensure drivers can get to their destination safely.
Well, we had temperatures today in the mid to upper 80s. 85 is where we should be. For this time of year, we made it to 86 here in Hazard. Some places had temperatures in the upper 80s. Here's the latest with live pinpoint Doppler radar. We're taking a look at the regional view, and you're noticing a little bit of shower activity just to the west of us and into the north of Cincinnati as well. A look outside right now, we have clear skies out there. Temperatures right now in the 60s and 70s, 66 in Grundy as well as Clintwood, 68 in Monticello, 75 from Moorhead, down to Jackson. Jackson was at 75 earlier, they're now at 76, 70 from Hazard to Manchester down to Jonesville. So overall, not a bad evening. The overnight hours keeps temperatures going into the 60s by the 6 o'clock hour. Look at noon though, tomorrow. We shoot up to 85 degrees. When we wake up in the morning, temperatures in the 60s and 70s will be the rule. 90s make a return tomorrow, but how long will they last? I'll have the answer in the first alert forecast in a few minutes. Olivia.
All right, Eric, thank you. A business that's been in East Tennessee for more than 100 years, now having to scramble to figure out their next steps. Cox Son, a historic funeral home in Campbell County, caught fire last night, and we're being told it's likely not salvageable. Sam Luther has more.
We think it won't be today, and we don't think it will be us. It'll be somewhere else, and it'll be later. But for us, it was yesterday.
It was a sight George Heckler never thought he'd see. Cox Son Funeral Home on fire.
Well, I do feel very much today like times where I've experienced the loss of close family members. One is just disbelief, bewilderment. Of course, we had no plan for anything like this. I guess people should.
This business has been in Campbell County since 1910, and this building has been here in Jellicoe since the 50s.
It's the oldest funeral home in the county, one of the oldest in the region.
Heckler says the fire likely started in the back of the building near the elevator. Only one person was inside at the time, and they got out unharmed. They were also able to get out important documents and items before there was too much damage. Thankful things weren't worse.
We could have had several more people here, could have been making arrangements, could have been having funeral services.
It's devastating for the longtime owner, saying he'll likely have to tear this building down. They plan to rebuild, but in the process, they'll lose a part of what made this business special for more than 100 years in Campbell County.
It's just been such a part of the community for so long, and it's a beautiful historic structure, or it was, unfortunately.
That was Sam Luther reporting. Now, advocates for domestic violence victims are finding ways to further support victims. With the release of the 2022 Domestic Violence Data Report, LKLP Safe House Program Director Aileen Rose says spouses and significant others are reported the most as perpetrators of abuse. She says shelters are there to help keep them safe and support them.
One of the things that this data is showing us, and one of the things that we have seen statistically throughout the country, is 80% of domestic violence homicides happen after that person has left or is in the process of leaving. That's why shelters like ours, that's why shelters across the state exist, to help protect them, because that is the most dangerous time when that person, when the perpetrator, the aggressor, feels like they're losing control.
Rose said they are still looking through the data to see what can be improved statewide. 2 counties here in the mountains are now certified as recovery ready as they now have established addiction services. Governor Andy Beshear made the announcement earlier today that Lee County and Breathitt County can use the certification to provide peer support services, addiction treatment, and more. Pam Darnall, chair of the Recovery Ready Communities Advisory Council, says 14 counties are now certified in Kentucky. Breathitt County Circuit Court Clerk James Elliott Turner II says this is part of their mission to help people in the county get clean. A high-profile Central Kentucky murder case is back on track after the suspect was initially ruled incompetent to stand trial. Thomas Burrell is accused of killing Richmond business owners Christopher and Gracie Hager in 2021. Today, he was rearraigned following a new indictment in the case. It's not clear what exactly happened regarding Burrell's competency. He is scheduled to appear in court again September 12th. Kentucky State Police troopers are looking for a suspect in connection with a deadly crash in Madison County. Troopers say 44-year-old Curtis Jackson was involved in the two-car crash back in February. It happened on Mount Vernon Road in Berea. 25-year-old Jeffrey Crow died. KSP says a warrant was issued for Jackson. He is charged with vehicular homicide and DUI, among other charges. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, help continues to arrive to rebuild communities nearly 2 years after deadly flooding.
And in the world of weather, 90s make a comeback starting tomorrow. How long will they last? I'll have the answer in the First Alert forecast in a few minutes. Stay with us.